Hey everyone, we are live, another BRStv Live. I'm William and I'm here with my buddy Kyle, and we want to tell you a little bit about what we've been up to in the studio here.
Yeah, I think you've been pretty busy recently.
Yes.
I've been seeing you in the studio a lot. Want to tell me what's been going on?
Yeah, so I'm the tank tech. I take care of all the tanks around here, and we've been doing a ton of stuff. The first thing I want to shout out though is Thomas in that Help I Wreck My Tank video. The old tank syndrome video. I really like that.
It hit a little too close to home for me because I've been there once or twice.
I've definitely blamed OTS for some tank failures, but I think Thomas nailed it with the lazy reefer syndrome.
It went by a different name that we can't say on live.
Yes.
So that's why it's not what you guys think it is.
Not lazy reefer syndrome.
Yeah.
But yes, that's definitely the case for me. I think when you stop, doing the maintenance like basting your rocks or siphoning your sand or doing some deep cleans of your sump.
Or even just doing a water change.
Yeah.
If you just skip it.
I'm guilty of that. I know when I get busy at work, sometimes I don't do the water changes at home. So.
Yeah, you do them here.
Yes, I always do them here, but not necessarily always at home. And then something else that we've been up to, Josh and I, actually, Josh is the old tank tech here, now doing a bunch of content stuff. We tore down the BRS 900 for a new generation of the studio. We're doing a big studio revamp, and so we tore it down, took all the coral and livestock out of it, put it into some brand new tanks, which you'll get to see soon.
I've seen some new tanks.
Yeah.
That whole studio wall is just gone.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy seeing the transformation, but you guys will probably see a little bit more. I think Monday there's a video coming out.
Coming out soon. They're going to do a 900 teardown, and then after that, at some point, we'll do a setup of the two new tanks. I'm really excited about it though. There's a bunch of new products that we're testing out on them. We have a little sneak peek. We have the Aqua Forest tank and then the Max Spec tank decked out with a bunch of gear, different lights and pumps and all this stuff. So we're testing it and we're going to show it off.
Yeah, mix of stuff. I think that's really exciting. It's like I'll be the same equipment on every single tank, which is super cool. You also got a couple smaller tanks, right? Yeah,
so we're doing some nanos too. It's the big thing nowadays, in the hobby is to do nanos. And so we got 3 nanos getting set up in the studio here. And I'm looking forward to what we're going to do on them. One of them is going to be maybe like a little build series kind of thing, some how-tos and whatnot, and how to take care of nanos and stuff.
I think that's good. I don't think BRStv's not really done much with nanos historically, so I think it's about time we caught to the trend with everyone doing smaller tanks.
Yes.
And it's close to home for me because I love nano tanks.
Yeah, I think you have some nano tanks, aren't you?
I'm like a nano connoisseur.
Yes.
I'd rather have a bunch of small tanks rather than one big one.
I feel like every once in a while, every time I see you, you have a new nano tank.
Yeah, it's an addiction.
Yeah, I agree. And then I wanted to shout out also Dave, our videographer, actually did the coolest walkthrough of this tank behind us. This guy's been in the office here for a while now, and the corals have really gotten massive. And Dave did a really in-depth walkthrough of it with all it's just eye candy.
The footage that he got of just the display tank, all the equipment, was insane. I was blown away. I was like, okay, Dave.
Yeah, it's literally
we leave you alone. This is what you do. I like it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I loved the videos and the colors in this tank. You can see them in person, but it's so hard to capture on the camera, and that video really captures this tank very well.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I felt like I was just standing here for most of it, so.
Definitely.
It's good.
But what else is new in BRS itself?
Well, speaking of the BRS website, we have a bunch of new stuff that just went live within the last week.
Right.
A couple of things that I'm really excited about would be the build your own tank, bring your own tank bundles.
Well,
so we got a couple demos here, but the bring your own tank bundles, if you are getting a used aquarium from Craigslist, if you're going to Petco, taking advantage of their discounted tank sale, we have some bundles to help you save some money on starting up a saltwater tank. And these are also good if you are a freshwater hobbyist and switching over to a reef tank.
Right.
Super easy switch over. You just get this bundle and you are set to swap it over from fresh to salt.
Right. It's a cool little bundle. It's everything but this fish tank. So this is something that maybe you find at Petco or go to Craigslist or Facebook. That's where I go for my rimmed tanks. And then this is like a killer little quarantine setup in my opinion.
You got sand, you got rocks, you got a heater, filter, starter bacteria, power head.
Yeah, fish food,
thermometer. You got all the core basics that you need to get started. And if you want to get a little bit more fancy, you definitely can. Lights are not in the kit just because we want you to pick the light that best suits your needs, because there is a whole variety of different reef tanks or saltwater tanks out there. So if you're doing fish only, you don't need the same light as if you're doing a LPS tank or if you're doing an SPS tank. So
honorable mention to macro tanks. You could do a freshwater light over this thing. That'd be pretty cool.
So
for me, I'm excited about it because of the options for quarantine. I like observational quarantine, so having rock and sand in my quarantine isn't a big deal for me.
That's true.
So you can set this up, put your fish in here, let them, visually quarantine them, and then add them to your system at a later date. So this is a pretty cool kit.
Super cool kit. This is just demoing the 10-gallon kit, but we have it available for a bunch of different sizes, all the way to I think 75 gallons. So each kit adjusts accordingly to fit the tank size. But
yeah, they give you the right amount of rock and sand, which is really important. For beginners, I think it's kind of hard to pick how much rock you need.
Yeah. So if you don't want to take the time to do a ton of research on every little thing that you need, this kit's gonna be a good starting point.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, you get to lift it this time.
Okay, the heavy stuff.
There you go. And then something super exciting, kind of a new thing in the industry in general, right?
This is something that I have been super excited for about 5 years, honestly.
I keep hearing people saying that they're making one, or I've seen some DIY ones, but this is a real product that you can buy.
Yeah, so you may be wondering what it is. It is something that's going to help you feed food that's not your dry pellet food. So that's been around for decades at this point, I think. But IND Aquatics and the AF4, this is an automatic frozen fish food feeder. So your PE mysis pellet or cubes, there's Reef Frenzy, rods, all that stuff you can like put in here, and it automatically feeds it throughout the day for you.
Yep.
How many times a day?
I think you can do it a few times a day. I think it's like 4 times a day you can get up to. I think the key to this too is that you don't need just the cubes. Like you can use the flat packs, you can use anything. Here, let's open it up. Yeah. This is actually one I've been using for maybe 2 months now, I'd say, maybe a month and a half.
Yeah, well, we got some samples.
Yeah, so it comes with really nice instructions actually. But the cool thing is the actual product itself. So you got your accessory kit here. Tubing. And then the tubes come out, and you can see I put it back, but it's been used. I used it. But this is what it looks like here. So you get your tubes that hang into your tank. One of them will pull water, one of them will put the food into the tank. And it's basically like a little mini refrigerator.
Yes.
So you have this little compartment up here. You have all your controls on the front. You can add your like fully frozen or partially frozen food into here. I recommend defrosting it first. I've found that if you put it in here, and you can put it in and then unplug it, and it'll defrost in here, but this thing's so insulated that it takes ages to defrost. So I find that I defrost it first, add it in here, and then you turn it on, it refrigerates the food. It lasts, I'd say, about 7 days before you're gonna wanna clean it. It's great, it's really cool stuff.
I think it's super awesome, because if you're on vacation for a couple of weeks, having some extra frozen food to feed for a week while you're out, I think is beneficial. So your fish aren't stuck on pellets. And especially good if you have fish that don't eat pellets. So if you have like regal angels from the wild, if you have butterfly fish, some leopard wrasses, some of those more finicky fish, this might be a lifesaver for you while you're away from home.
Yeah, I find it to be really cool. You can put any kind of food, like I was saying, into it. I've put even pretty big mysis shrimp into there, like the jumbo mysis.
I mean, the tubing is a pretty good diameter, so.
Yeah, so it's really cool. And there's a few accessories that you can get with this thing too.
Yeah, there's a Wi-Fi dongle.
Wi-Fi dongle. That thing's cool because you can connect to kind of like an all-in-one app, but the purpose of the app is mainly to connect it to like your Siri or your Alexa. So you can open your phone while you're on vacation and tell Siri to feed your tank, and it'll go and feed it, which is really cool.
I like that. We have a 0 to 10 volt cable also, which allows you to connect it to your Apex or other controller with the 0 to 10 volt port, which I think is super unique.
That's cool.
So you can integrate it into your Apex Fusion.
And then the last item that you could get optionally, not exciting, but it's the cleaning kit, and it's definitely necessary.
I don't think that's optional. I was going to say, you need to clean it once a week.
You do need to clean it, but you can buy the little cleaning tablets and use those to clean it and then kind of get through their DIY. But the cleaning kit is almost essential. Like it allows you to get these tubes nice and clean and get everything out. And the coolest thing, I think, is it all comes apart. You can take it all apart, clean it, put it all back together. So it's just quite nice.
Yeah, highly recommend staying on top of the cleaning, because frozen fish food that is thawed and starts deteriorating over time, if you don't clean it, it's gonna stink.
Yeah, remember, it's refrigerated, not frozen. So as long as you would expect fish food to last refrigerated, that's about as long as it's gonna last in this thing.
Yeah, so I think it's super cool. You guys should check it out. I think we'll have some more videos on it relatively soon.
Yeah, definitely. I'll take it over here. But that kind of leads us into, right, some Q&A?
Yeah, Q&A like the normal. So hopefully you guys have some questions for us.
All right, let's pull that
and we'll get into it. So we're going to start with a couple from the last live that we didn't get to.
Cool.
Gonif 2 pumps. How do you achieve stability? I've been going about 2 months with no swings as of now. Is a maintenance schedule all that is needed? Aquapora is on their list to try. Thanks in advance. So, nice. Stability, I think, is a very big, broad term that people use to mean that they can grow corals.
Right.
And I don't think there's any like specific metric I would relate to it. Generally, time is going to be like the biggest factor because the longer your tank's set up, generally the more stable it is because you're in a routine. You know the tank in and out. Biome is already established, which is not there on day one. So achieving stability, have your regular maintenance routine, in my opinion. Make sure your biome is there so you've done something to at least initiate the biome cycle.
Right.
So you've added beneficial bacteria, aside from just your nitrifiers, you've like added a source, whether it be like live biofilm from aquaforest or live sand. But how do you achieve stability in your tanks?
I feel like same thing. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but consistency is key. Consistent on your routine, whether it's water changes or dosing, cleaning the sand, all these things. Do it consistently. If your tank is running smooth and you're not doing sand sifting, and then one day you go and you sift the whole entire sand bed, it's no longer going to be stable.
Yeah,
definitely not. So if you want to get into like maybe more healthy routines like that, start out small to add them to your routine. But overall consistency is key. Don't change anything quickly and don't do anything quickly.
Yeah, speaking of that sand bed thing, I think the 160 from 52 Weeks of Reefing, that was initially a sand bed, and I remember Chad was like taking care of it at the time. Ryan told him to like take the sand bed out because he wanted to go bare bottom. That just destabilized the entire system for so long.
Yeah, no big changes. Never do big changes. This tank ran with bare bottom for a while. When we added the sand in, it did help stabilize, but you don't really want to do anything too quickly.
Too drastic.
Overall,
Yeah, so great question. It's a lot, very broad, but it comes with a lot of time just in a regular maintenance routine is going to be your best friend there.
That's right.
So I'm going to ask one more from previously. Dave Thomas, the Dream Team 9418 asks, so I've got filter floss, ceramic media, and charcoal in my middle all in one slot. Where should the refugium be going? So this would replace all of that and just do a filter sock. I've been wanting to do a fuse so I can have a place to, for a couple pods to kick it and keep dragon nuts. So that's a good question. So most all-in-ones that I'm familiar with are going to be 3 chambers, or if they're a bigger one, that's 5 chambers. So you always, like the middle ends up being the return.
Right.
But if you're doing a 3-chamber all-in-one or typically a smaller tank, I would generally do the refugium in that middle chamber and just run a filter sock in the overflow chamber, so that first one the water flows into. Or if you're not a fan of filter socks and want to do filter floss, get a media tower. Depending on which tank you have, you can get like an in-tank media basket, or some of them already have them pre-made. So like Innovative Marine has the desktop, or like the caddies, and all that. So I would do a caddy with filter floss. That way it's just easy to maintain. Put your filter media in there if you need it, and then the refugium in the middle chamber. And I like to light it with the Eco Chic TNZ. That way there's like no light spill outside my tank. I don't have to do any like modifying on the paint on the back.
Yeah,
but
so I'm on
that's my approach.
I'm a little bit more on the flip side. I'd say I would definitely still do it in the middle chamber if you're going to do a refugium. I do like to cut the paint off of the back, so I'll cut the paint off and mount like a little like
the extra
like the Kato Grow or whatever, like an LED outside to shine into that middle chamber. And then for that first chamber, instead of maybe a filter sock or a caddy, I'd probably go for a roller mat.
If you can get one for your tank. Not all-in-ones have one.
No, so if like the little nano mats, when I have at home, it fits that 4-inch filter sock from Red Sea. And the reason I say that is because typically I find that filter socks or caddies are going to take basically every piece of detritus out of the tank, whereas the filter rollers, they tend to let a little bit through. And I find that that's really good for your Kato. Usually I'll let it, like a little bit of detritus settle into my Kato chamber, and I find it grows way better.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Might have to try that sometime.
Yeah, sometimes like ultrafiltration isn't always the best. You don't want to pull everything out of the water.
Awesome. Looks like we got some questions rolling in for today. So Palmetto Coral Co. Does anyone have experience to share on getting a juvenile Achilles? I'm assuming you're being Achilles tag. It's not for the faint of heart or the inexperienced, so be ready for a little bit of heartache is probably what I'm going to say. Just know that going into it, you might have a rough time depending on where you source it from.
Yeah.
But do your research. If you can source it locally to make sure it's eating at least first, that's going to give you the best amount of success.
Yes.
And also supports local, which I think is a great thing whenever you can do that. So local sourced or from a quality source that you know isn't like quarantining or at least take it through a couple weeks of observation to make sure it's eating. Would be my pro tip there. Also, as far as like having the Achilles tank itself, make sure your tank has a ton of flow.
Yes.
Like Achilles tanks, we don't talk about it too much with other tank species, but Achilles tanks especially need a ton of flow. Otherwise, they don't do well. Like their behavior, they'll just like end up in the rock work, not actually active swim. So Achilles tanks, you do need to have like a really high flow tank. They're going to do best in your SPS tank with a ton of flow.
I've dealt with a few little guys.
I've seen him like pacing in the power heads a lot.
Oh, he just swims right around. We have the big MP60s back there, and he swims straight into them, and then the gyres, and then the tunsies. He's doing a little circuit of all the pumps.
He never holds still.
No, but I've dealt with a few baby Achilles before, or not babies, but pretty small ones. Something people overlook is flow in your quarantine tank.
Yeah,
that's a big one. A lot of people it's pretty obvious, most people at least, that you need a slightly bigger quarantine maybe for an Achilles than
40
average. 40 breeder, if you can go 60 or 80, that would be really cool. But put a ton of flow in there. Like a lot of people just have like a hang-on back going on, or maybe like a single power head. Put a gyre in there, get it flowing, feed multiple times a day. And yeah, bigger than average quarantine would be my
I would go at least 40 breeder, depending on how big of a fish you're getting. If you're doing a juvenile, I would do a 40 breeder, and I would throw on a good power head, whether it be a gyre or just like one of the larger AC Tunsy pumps, just to
something big.
Give it a treadmill to swim on.
Yeah,
while it's good quarantine. Our Wednesday warship asks, I recently lost 2 of my 6-head hologram hammer colony to brown jelly. Never seen it in my tank before. I'm devastated. How can I fix this and prevent it? That is a great question. I personally have not had to deal with brown jelly disease. I think it's like Kung Fu Corals has like a protocol where it's a series of different additives that he uses between, I think Chemiqueen, some other antibacterial, I think kanamycin or something like that. And then some like frag restoring stuff. So frag or restore from Brightwell, some other things. But check out his website. He's got a whole protocol. He's got a whole kit that supposedly works. I've never had to use it, so I can't really speak as to its efficacy. I still think brown jelly is one of those things that people don't fully understand yet. And people didn't really experience it much until recently with the whole euphilia craze.
Right. So I think my only experience with it is not great.
Yeah.
You know, I've had colonies rapidly decline. And what I would do is I'd cut all the heads that are affected or even like kind of look bad. I'll cut them all off, and I'll take that coral, fully dip it, and then into a whole new tank. Like that has never been affected by that stuff. Even then, it doesn't always work. But I find that that's usually an easy solution to save some of your coral.
I want to say just based the antibacterial approach works. It might be bacterial based. Having UV sterilizer in your tank might help a little bit. Just keep in mind, like the stuff that's on the coral is not going to be impacted by the UV sterilizer, but it will help kind of limit or slow down the spread of it to other colonies. But without having any like really in-depth testing, I would probably say frag it, take off the dead stuff or the stuff that's affected for your best chance, and then
fully isolate it.
Yeah.
Get it very far away from anything with brown jelly.
Hopefully someone in the chat can help you or has some more information to share, but I would go that route and look at Kung Fu corals to see if that might be an option for you.
Yeah.
Tricky question. Thank you for that. Julie Urbas, what do you do when GFO in a reactor isn't enough? Phosphates have lowered to 0.42, dedicated weekly water changes, RDI water, and carefully feeding frozen food only. That was a good question. So this tank has had a ton of phosphates.
Yes.
And I'm sure you have more than one approach going than just GFO.
I do, yes. So I've tried quite a few things, and this tank just sits at high phosphates. There's a lot of fish in here, a lot of everything in here. But I've messed around with basically every single phosphate removal media, and I've tried a bunch of the other ways. For me, I've found if you have really high numbers or it spikes for some reason, that high capacity GFO works really well. But it bottoms out phosphates typically. Usually it's going to take it from way too high to way too low. So that's why most of the time we would recommend like the normal GFO. But in a scenario that you can't remove it or get it down, that might be an option. Another one that I'd say is I use on this tank just constantly and consistently use the MaxSpect Phosphoree. It's a resin-based phosphate removal additive or media, and it works really well. You can actually use it for about 3 weeks to a month, maybe even longer if you want. If you're trying to lower it, and then if you're trying to maintain, it can be a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
And then lastly, other than media, you could do some kind of algae reactor or refugium. If it's, again, really aggressive, the algae reactor, I think, is the way I'd go. I find that Kato is a little slower. Are you the other way around?
When I first started here and I was in customer service, my 32-gallon tank had really high phosphates. Like, phosphate checker from Hannah was like blinking at me for weeks. No matter how many water changes I was doing, it was just blinking.
Okay.
I ended up installing one of those like arid Pax Bellum reactors.
Pax Bellums, yeah.
It was rated for like a 120-gallon tank. I put it on a 30-gallon tank. So probably why this happened, but the Kato was growing like a weed. I had to harvest it out of the reactor twice a week, and I would only leave 30% of it.
Well, that's a good problem.
So I was growing Kato like nobody's business.
Right.
So that worked really fast. It brought my phosphates down to 0.2 within like 3 weeks, and I was not doing water changes. That was the only thing I did.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, algae.
Use
algae, either macroalgae or the pest algae in like a reactor.
Yeah, and if you don't have room for another reactor or a refugium, and you really want to stick to GFO, don't have any problems with nitrates, you probably need to change your GFO more frequently, because once it reaches capacity, it's going to stop filtering it out and potentially leach it back into your tank. So I would use your phosphate test, probably test every 1 to 3 days, depending on how aggressive you are with the addition of the media.
Right.
And if as soon as you start seeing the phosphate not dropping, change out the GFO. That way it keeps removing it until you're at where you want to be at.
Yeah, there can be a lot of phosphate in the tank that's not reading. It could be in the rocks, it could be in the sand. There's phosphate combined into corals. It can be everywhere, and so you can take a lot of it out with the GFO, and then it'll show back up. And you might just have to keep doing that until it's like stabilized and fully removed.
So stay on top of the media changes, keep your water changes up, keep the routine. That way you're in a good cadence, because speaking of that old tank syndrome that Thomas was talking about, you want to stay on top of it. Don't fall behind.
Yeah, I think one of the things you mentioned was like leaving your carbon or GFO in the reactor for too long. I think I've been guilty of that, and
I definitely have.
Suddenly when you change it, everything looks so much better.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't forget your media.
Great question. Next question is from Magdaleno Tatad. How many AF16 HD lights do you recommend for a 6-foot reef tank with SPS? Thank you. Great question. If it were me doing SPS tank, I would recommend 12. So 1 per foot lengthwise and 1 per foot front to back. So if you have, I'm assuming a 6x2 is probably the most standard size, so I would do the full 12. You're gonna get really good coverage and have a lot of flexibility.
Yep.
And it's not the most expensive option. It sounds like a lot of lights, but it's at the price that they're at.
It's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad.
Yeah, it seems like a lot. You're gonna have a lot of cables, a lot of power supplies, and a lot of brackets going on over the tank.
I would highly recommend a lot of cable management.
Yeah, so if you can avoid doing the primes, I'd go for something like the hydras.
Yeah.
Instead, if you can, but there might be a reason you're doing the primes. In that case, I would do a dozen. A dozen over there, and that's a dozen power supplies and a dozen plugs that you got to plug into.
And also, if you are assuming you're not doing SPS right away, like right from the get-go, you can slowly work your way up to the full 12. You don't need full 12 day one. Corals need time to grow in before you need the extra coverage. So you can start with like 6 today, and then 6 months, a year from now, add the other 6 later or as you need it. So
definitely.
You don't need them all day one. Just going to preface that. Granted, it is easier to set them up when your tank's dry.
There's going to be a lot of fans going.
Yeah.
It's a lot of light on top of a tank. That's kind of cool though. I've seen, personally, I've seen some of the lights where like the Orphex, that they just kind of blanket the whole tank. It looks really cool. It is definitely a cool look.
I think so too. So next question is Easton's Epic Animals. Hey, I just finished cycling my 75-gallon mixed reef and was wondering what to do now. Should I do cuke? If so, which ones? Or should I add some fish? If so, which ones? My answer is both. So if you no ammonia, no nitrate, you just have nitrates present, I would start with like a pair of clownfish is my general go-to for first fish. But if you are someone like me that's not a huge clownfish fan, Something easy, so a peaceful dotty back, like an orchid dotty back,
Sure.
a fang blenny, Cessor basslet, Royal Garama would be a good starting point. And then get your cleanup crew. I recommend starting with some banded trochus snails, sarin snails, a fighting conch is what I would do. I would just start with one, and then some scarlet hermits.
And this is 75, we're saying?
Yep.
Yes, I think I'd agree on the CUC like lineup there.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say is if you're not seeing anything for them to clean up, you might not want to add that many of them.
Don't go aggressive from the start.
You know, they do eat fish food and they'll eat whatever you're going to feed into the tank, but typically they're grazers, and so if there's nothing to graze on, they're not going to do so well. Add your cleanup crew slowly. Same goes with fish, of course, but cleanup crew is one maybe people overlook because they just kind of order them all at once, and then a bunch of your hermits die, and that's no good. We don't want to do that, so definitely add them slowly.
Yeah, don't let them starve.
No. No. So yeah, add them slowly. I would say same thing. I don't like adding clownfish first because for some reason, every single time I've done it, they get really aggressive. Usually to me. Usually they're biting my hand and attacking me. They kind of deem the whole tank to be theirs. So I usually add them later. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to add them first.
No.
They're cool fish.
They are cool fish. I love the Lenny maroon pair that I have, except for the female is very, very aggressive with me. She doesn't care about anyone else in the tank, but I can't even put my hand over the water before she tries jumping out to bite me.
I've seen her. She's crazy.
She's
Yeah.
a little psychotic.
Yep.
Christopher Catherman, have you ever lost interest in the hobby? What would you do to regain the interest? This is a good question because I think you and I have both been in the hobby for over 10 years each, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's a hard question. I think so. Yes, I lost interest in the hobby for maybe like about a year. I used to live in Florida, and a big hurricane came through and crashed my tank. We had no power for about 12 days.
That would do it.
Yeah, and I was working at a fish store at the time, and I took all my equipment to the store, and they said I'd never start again, and within a year I had a tank already up and running.
And now you work here.
And now I work here, moved up to Minnesota
and you maintain tanks every day.
Yeah, a lot more tanks than I've ever dealt with. Yeah, for sure.
I've also lost interest in the hobby before. Thankfully, I've only had nano, so it's been relatively easy to like get out if I don't want to anymore, and it's also easy to get back in since I like nanos. I don't have to like go source a whole new 4-foot long setup and deal with all that. So I like nanos. I think that's helped since I've gone down to a nano size. I've been unconventional. I started my journey with a 125-gallon tank, and I've worked my way down to
backwards.
Nanos. Like I've never done a big tank at home ever again.
That's reasonable, I think.
But I think nanos, if you already have one tank, nanos can be a great option to do something like species specific that really, really interests you that you probably couldn't pull off or do well in a large tank. So I'm thinking if you really like a shrimp and goby pair, if you have a 180-gallon tank, you're probably not really going to see much of them.
No.
But if you do like a small, like 15-gallon tank, they're going to be front and center. You can look at them for hours.
Yeah.
So there's things like that. There's something I'm contemplating with my tank here in my cubicle that I haven't done for a while since I had a carpet anemone when I had the 125-gallon, but I want to do my like little 40-gallon cube. I want to do a carpet anemone with the bear clownfish because it's not a full reef.
That'll be pretty fun.
And I love carpet anemones, despite them being very sticky and hard to deal with if they walk around.
I think that's kind of the key to getting back into it, like finding something that really excites you.
Yes.
Something niche maybe. I would say what really got me back into the hobby after the break is that I didn't really stop on social media. I continued on Reef to Reef and other forums, and I kept looking at like the BRS videos and all the videos out there. And the itch comes back. You know, if you're still looking, the itch comes back. You're a reefer for sure.
I get bored when I get to the point where I'm like a mixed reef, like I set off, and I'm like, I just want to do SPS or I just want to do LPS, and then it turns into a mixed reef, and I'm like, well, I'm back to where I
start over.
I got to start over again. Good question. Jackie Katawat's the best way to attach GSP to rocks. I like the look of them, and in some areas want them to spread. So I mean, you are a resident like coral aficionado with all these tanks here at the office.
So
what's your tip?
With GSP, if it's kind of confusing. Usually it's on something. It's very rare that it's like a sheet of green star polyp by itself. If it's on something, you're going to simply want to glue whatever it's on to wherever you want it to be. but let's assume that it's not, right? Let's say
So
there's just
loose
like a
flake.
loose piece. The top side of it, where the polyps are and the green comes out of, you can't glue. But the back side of it, you actually can. It's not going to slough off its flesh or do anything. Just go ahead and add some glue to it and stick it wherever you want.
Sounds easy.
And then it's also, there's no skeleton inside of it, so as long as you're not too rough with it, you could kind of push it a little gently into a crack so it doesn't float away. And as long as you don't have any mean hermit crabs, you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good question. Jerry Pileman, my blue ribbon eel has actually ate 3 pieces of silver sides 2 days after I got him. How often
Nice.
should I offer food? That's a really good question. So eels and other predators, I generally aim for like 2 to 3 times a week, just because they don't have a super fast metabolism. They're also eating bigger chunks of food and need time to digest.
Yeah.
So I would do 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah, ribbon eels are really, really easy to tell when they're overfed or underfed. Look at its belly. Absolutely. You can see when if it looks normal, it's probably ready for another food. If it looks, fat, then don't feed it. You can kind of just tell with the ribbon eels, but that's impressive that you've gotten it to eat.
It's eating already, so props.
I've dealt with a bunch of them, and I've never had one eat frozen.
I've never tried to keep one. I'm too scared.
I've done shrimp. I've had them eat shrimp, and I've had them eat live, but never silver side. So kudos to you. That's impressive.
That's good. We also got a super chat. $5 from Marco Garcia. What is the best dose system / strategy for an ultra nano reef setup with no limits? Thanks for all the helpful content. Thank you, Marco, for the super chat. We appreciate you tuning in and watching and just being a BRStv enjoyer and customer.
That's sweet.
But to answer your question, best dose system / strategy for an ultra nano reef system or setup with no limits.
So you think he's asking like the doser and the
okay?
Additive,
Let's take it both ways. Let's start with ultimate dosing system. So talking doser.
The doser itself, one head I'm going to go with the Versa. 4 heads, I think I might still go with the Versa.
The Versa 4-pack.
The Versa 4-pack.
That's what my head was at.
Yeah, it's really cool. It is really cool.
I would say either that or the Red Sea Reef Dose.
The Reef Dose, yeah. Those are really cool as well.
If you're doing 4 heads, the Reef Dose is where I would go.
And I know you said no limit, but if I'm going to put a limit on it, the little Simplicity 4-headed doser, that thing's really cool.
Yes,
but
if you're
that's
doing
definitely for
mindful,
budget.
more affordable, Simplicity actually has like a really good dosing pump for a really good price.
Yeah, super reliable.
Yeah. And then as far as like dosing additives, I would probably go with the 4-head doser. I would do ESV for like the 2-part, which covers all your trace elements. And then if you're going all out, I'm assuming you're probably doing SPS. And I would put the other 2 heads for Coral Booster and Flatworm Stop from KZ. That's what I would do.
Okay, that's basically, this tank runs Triton, but it runs the KZ additives as well. That new Red Sea 4-part is kind of cool. It really intrigues me.
I kind of do want to test it on one of the tanks I'm setting up.
So that one's really interesting to me. Honestly, I might go with you said it's a nano. I might go with 1 head and do the complete from Aquaforest, the 3-in-1.
The 3-in-1.
Or the Alpha Reef.
One of those 2.
From Tropic Marin on the Versa 1 head, or either Red Sea 4-part, or this tank runs Triton, and it works, obviously.
It does.
So I might run the Triton 4-part. The benefit to that, if you have a Kato reactor or a refugium, is the amount of water changes you have to do, it really gets reduced quite a bit.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Easier maintenance. Thank you for the super chat again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Michael Montgomery, how important are copepods and phytoplankton, and how do you determine how many to buy, and do you add ongoing? I feel like we get a question about copepods every single live that we do.
Every time. I think, the reality is that copepods are way more important than we think.
Yes.
You definitely should add some. You should find a way to get them into your tank. You should try and find a diverse variety of copepods to add to your tank.
Especially if you have a mandarin.
Yes. Or picky wrasses.
Yes.
Possum wrasses can sometimes be picky. Leopard wrasses.
Yeah.
My leopard wrasses only eat pods. Very frustrating.
So, super important. The phyto part, not quite as important.
Right.
I generally haven't noticed like any benefit when I have an established tank with dosing phyto, just because the fish are in the tank and they're consuming the copepods, so you don't really see a population boom. The one time I would consider dosing phytoplankton relatively frequently is when you have like a new tank. So if you're cycling, dump in a bunch of copepods. and then dose phytoplankton, you'll get a population boom
Like
really
crazy.
quickly. Especially if you can dose enough phytoplankton to make the water green, depending on how big
Yeah.
your tank is. I'm not advocating for spending thousands of dollars
Gallons of pod or phyto,
unless you're
yeah.
culturing your own, then that's a different story. But if you're purchasing it from like Algae Barn or the Reef Nutrition stuff, don't spend thousands of dollars on a 180-gallon tank to turn it green. But
Well, talking about culturing it,
yeah.
it's not hard to do.
no,
You can buy the little thing and culture your own. So if you have a really
The
big
phyto
tank
tank,
and you want to make a tank this size green,
You're gonna
you
need a
don't have
lot.
to spend a few grand. You can make your own.
yes.
100%.
But I would only do it when you're initially setting up the tank. Add the couple pods. It'll give you a really good population boom to start off the tank. That will help fend off a huge diatom bloom. I think there's some research that they eat dinoflagellates, depending on the species that they are. And it'll just help keep general algae under control and be a really good base of the food chain.
Yeah.
So I would do that. How many do you buy? It depends on your tank size. I'm kind of just like a sucker for a good deal. Algae Barn has like the EcoPod 4-pack for like $99.
Yeah,
so I
that's
just
a good deal.
I always just do that.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's the same. It depends on your patience level.
Yeah,
really.
depends on
what
your
it is.
patience level.
They will grow. They will reproduce. They will fill your tank up eventually. You can really add as much as you
and
want.
you don't really have to add them because they're going to hitchhike on your corals too. So especially if you don't dip them.
Yeah,
they're
you'll get them
gonna-
whether you like it or not. Definitely.
Kind of like coralline algae.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, we got another super chat. I was not expecting super chats today.
That's
in all
exciting.
fairness. But
Thank
super
you.
chat for $10 from Blake Srail. Can you thank Will for hooking me up with the A3 Junior a while back? Been so great to use. Setting up deep dimension 250. What tanks are a must-have? So, 250
You're
gallon.
welcome, man.
250 gallon tank. You got a lot of options.
50 gallons. Jeez.
So I would do, if it were mine, I would do the convict tank.
Okay.
Because I love convict tanks. Powder blue, yellow tang, probably a couple of them.
Yeah.
And then I would look at either Tomini or the blue-eye bristle-tooth
Okay.
would be my go-tos.
You do like
Just-
5 to 7, maybe
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I think I'm about the same. I would go. I'm going to name some expensive ones. So
Yeah, you are. You're just
keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I'd go for a gem tang. I'm a sucker for gem tangs. Honorable mention to Chevron tangs, but those are way too expensive. But yeah, I'll go for a gem tang and probably a yellow or a purple to kind of have that zebra soma body shape in the tank. Powder blue is definite one. I'd go for a dory,
Dory?
blue hippo tang.
They stress me out on it.
They're very stressful, but they're so beautiful. And if you get one healthy, they chunk up and they get so meaty and big. Oh, they're just such a beautiful fish. And then another one that I like, I think he's in here, right? The whitetail bristletooth tang.
Yeah, he's right behind you.
Oh yeah, there he is. So yeah, the whitetail bristletooth tang. The
going
stark
expensive.
white. Yeah, I went expensive. You went affordable. I went
relatively
expensive.
affordable.
Well, you said convict tang. I'll go zebra tang. There you go.
Yeah.
So same thing. This guy has more stripes. That's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. But we have a ton of questions, so I think we should start
keep
like
going.
shotgunning it.
Yeah.
Adams AZ Aquatics RODI question. I'm considering running quantity of 2 the 7-stage RODI systems. Do you think I can run just a single booster pump with a Y fitting to push all 4 membranes? Probably not at the same time. I've not actually tried that.
So I think.
It's gonna be a problem because you're the shut off switch.
Yeah, I don't know how
Unless
you'd
you
shut it
wire
off
it
unless you
back
just want it
together.
running all the time.
Yeah, that is tricky.
I think one will lose pressure, like have less pressure than the
I would
other.
do 1 booster pump per RODI system just to be safe.
Yeah.
Just also if you have like a redundancy, if one ends up breaking, you need to like get a replacement or any warranty support on it.
Yeah.
You're not like out both of your systems. So I would just run it redundant and just be at hot capacity for a little bit if anything ever happens.
Yeah.
Personally, redundancy is my saving grace for everything in this hobby.
Yes. Yeah. Everything breaks eventually.
Yes.
Have an extra spare.
Good question. Robert Yorzinski. Tank is 3 months old with diatoms on rocks. Phosphates are at 0.159. Should I use GFO to lower phosphates?
How much diatoms are on the rock? I guess is kind of the question. Is it enough that your cleanup crew isn't maintaining it? Do you have a plenty of cleanup crew?
Yeah.
At that number, I wouldn't be
I'm not
so concerned.
No.
But it could be that if you have like insane amounts of diatoms, it could be that the diatoms are consuming all of it before you can really read it. If that's the case, manual removal, and if your phosphates spike up, then use some GFO. But if not, I would just leave it alone.
And maybe bump up your water changes. So if you're doing 10% a week, bump it up to 20 for a couple of weeks. See how it goes.
Yeah.
Great question though. Ivan Castillo asks, when will we have any Waterbox 35.2 all-in-ones available? That is a great question. I don't have access to that information since we're on a live, but if you contact our support team, either via phone number, live chat, or you can email them at support@bulkresupply.com, they can get you an estimated time of when we'll have more available.
Same shout out to our customer support team. They're all hobbyists.
Yeah.
Really cool.
They are amazing. They will get an answer for you. John W54. I'm new at Saltwater. My corals don't seem to be growing. Tank is 15 gallons. Should I dose them with something? This is a tricky one to answer just because there are so many different factors. I don't know what corals you have. So this is one where I would also defer to our support team, which are hobbyists. They can ask some questions to get narrowed down, help you figure out where something might be lacking. I don't know what your maintenance routine is, but I would just maybe do some extra water changes. That usually perks things up. And
what I would ask too is what is not growing, because
Yeah.
if you're newer, corals grow really slow. Basically all corals grow really slow, especially in a new tank. They might not grow at all for a while. If they're shrinking or they're not opening, that is one thing you should definitely try to address that. But if it's just growing slow or not growing very much, it might just be new.
Yeah, so I would say might be new, but for more detailed information, contact our support team. They'll help
Shoot
you
us
out.
an email.
Yeah.
We like pictures.
We do.
Send pictures of your tank too.
We love pictures.
Oh yeah.
Lauren Roth, what dosing pumps are your favorite? Are there options that are less expensive and still do a great job? This is really relevant to a recent question that we just had.
Yeah.
So if we're going top of the line, I love the Versa, personally.
We're both on the same page there. Yep.
And then we're also both on the same page for an affordable option with the Simplicity for a dosing pump.
Yeah, that Simplicity thing's like tiny. It's really cool.
I was really happy when we got that on board. I was like, oh, this is like the dosing pump to go if I don't want to spend money.
Yeah, those are the two options for sure. If you have an Apex, the Dose QD is now freakishly quiet.
It is super quiet.
It's really quiet, so that's an honorable mention if you need something like it's sitting in your living room.
Yeah, if you want Apex integration, the Dose QD is my way to go, especially if you haven't tried it.
Yes.
Personally, that's where I would go. But good question. Chad Jordan, a nutrient question. Tank is stable and looks good, but phosphates run between 0.7 to 0.9 parts per million and nitrates between 5 to 10. What would you do? Softies, blasto, micromousas only. Honestly, I wouldn't do anything. If things look good, if things look good and the corals you have are growing, I mean, the blastos and micromousas are slow growers anyways. I think you're fine. Just leave it as it is.
Yep.
If you really wanted to like get it down, I would bring it down slowly, and I would just use GFO in moderation.
So I have a different one then. So you may go GFO. I would say even if you want to go even slower, and a resin-based phosphate remover removes it so nice and slowly and smoothly. When I started using it on this tank, it did come down, but like over the course of a few months, it slowly came down. So yeah, if you want to tinker with your tank and get that chase number, like we always say not to do, but if you do want to chase that number, do it really slow with something like phosphate or like a quarter of the recommended amount of GFO.
Yeah. Nice and slow, make a change, but honestly, I wouldn't if everything looks good. Jackie Cato, been adding phytoplankton to my tank and noticed some green, healthy algae growing on the rocks. How often to add to a 30-gallon biocube? Originally bought for copepods, but I think those are all gone. Well, Jackie, unless something like crashed your tank, the copepods are still there, and even if you did crash your tank, the copepods are still there. They're just not going to be super visible in a mature tank because they hide in the rockwork, under the sand, in your filter media. For phytoplankton, I generally, if I am going to dose it, will do like a once weekly thing. Especially depending on the corals I have, I'll turn off my return pump. That way it just sits in the tank for about 30 minutes and then turn the filter back on. That way the corals can eat, any copepods in the tank can also eat and get some phytoplankton, but I would do once a week. Yeah,
I'm the same. Once a week. Actually, in high phosphate systems, I'll do every other week, personally, because it can add to that. And also an honorable mention, I would say, when you do that, if your tank turns green, all your corals are going to polyp up, they're going to open up. It's a great time to feed like actual coral food, like a reef chili or something like that.
Perfect time for it.
Yeah, everything opens like crazy.
Good question, Jackie.
Yeah, thank you.
Mike, is it possible or feasible to have a BTA in an SPS tank? Depends on what you prefer having in the tank and what kind of SPS we're talking about.
Possible, definitely.
Definitely possible, definitely feasible. Yeah. I will say that if you have really high-end acros, you probably don't want to because the bubble tip anemone may go for a walk at any point in time. for any random reason, and it's going to sting your corals as it wanders about. So I would just be careful. Definitely possible. If you have expensive ones, I would not.
Yeah, I'd say there's a few other anemones that might be better suited. The Magnificence would be a really good one. If you can have a space at the top of your rockwork, they almost always go all the way to the tippy top and then don't move around.
Yeah.
So if you have a really high pinnacle, you can put one up there and they can live up there. And then same thing, but the opposite is like a carpet anemone. They'll stay down into the sand. And so they do get huge, so they'll climb up the rock a little bit, but for the most part, they'll stay in the sand. So if you really need an anemone, I'd probably stay away from the bubble tip or like the long tentacles, and I'd go for one of those two.
Yeah, and I would probably add the anemone first. That
Yes,
way they
let it find its spot.
Or make sure that your corals aren't fully mounted on the rockwork so you can easily take them out of the way.
Yeah. I will say though, even with that, if a Magnificent climbs over an acro, it's not
gone.
making it. That's not making it. Yeah.
Good question. Jetta Jill, what's a good method for cleaning out green bubble algae? My emerald crab has gotten lazy. Well, good thing is that Thomas has a whole Hope I Wrecked My Tank series on a bunch of different pests.
Yes,
And bubble algae is
them.
one of them. So you are your best cleanup crew member. So I, as much as I don't like putting in some elbow grease, I would do some elbow grease when you do a water change. Break off the bubbles from the rock, siphon it out right away, make it super easy. And I've also found emerald crabs, when they get big, tend to stop eating algae as much. They tend to be a little bit more predatory, more carnivorous in my experience. So I would maybe swap it out, trade it in at your LFS for a new, smaller one that's younger. And then depending on how big your tank is, rabbitfish sometimes eat bubble algae, sailfin tangs.
I've had good luck with rabbitfish and foxface.
Yes, exactly. So those are a couple options, but
I find also that the crabs will eat the small bubbles, but not the big ones.
Yeah.
So I find if I go in and I take all the big ones out, usually it doesn't come back in that same area. They'll go and pick out the little tiny scraps. So, yeah, that's definitely, you're going to have to be the emerald crab.
Yes.
For sure.
I highly recommend it, and then just stay on top of it. Just make it a part of your regular routine.
Yep.
Randy Headington, how would you install the Red Sea fleece roller when you have 2 returns?
Well,
are you talking about, I'm assuming probably 2 drains.
If you have 2 drains.
You have a primary.
Right, yeah.
And an emergency.
Typically.
You're going to hook to the primary.
In some really big tanks, I've seen two main drains. If your tank's big enough, get 2 rollers. Yeah. For sure. You probably have a main drain and then an emergency. You don't need to connect to that emergency, just connect to the main one. If you look at like the big Red Sea tanks that have the little filter, like the slot for it, it just connects to that main drain. It doesn't go to the emergency. Yeah.
Hook to the main drain. If you have 2 actual drains, your sump and tank probably need 2 filter rollers.
Should be huge.
So just do 2.
Yeah.
Start with just 1, but your emergency drain, I highly recommend always draining somewhere else. That way it causes an audible noise when it's actually being triggered. That way you know to check your drain for a possible block before your tank floods.
Yeah, let it splash into your return chamber or something like that, so when the water like starts flooding into it, you know.
Yeah, and if you have more detailed questions or are still a little confused, contact our support team. Another shout out to them. They'll be able to help you figure it out.
They're all hobbyists again.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
DJ Shad XW, how do I get rid of diatoms? And my tank has been running for 5 months now, and diatoms have been on my tank for 2 months. Usually they're temporary. It does sound like they're lingering a little bit longer than normal, at least in my experience. Beef up your cleanup crew. Check your source water for silicates is where I would also check.
And pods, copepods. Copepods, we've been talking about it a lot. Definitely copepods, I'd say. If you don't have any or you haven't added any frags, you might not have very many of them in there.
They'll thrive.
Add more and they'll thrive. They love diatoms.
Yes, they do. Okay, great question. Samantha Atka, what's your favorite tank that you've owned? Ooh.
Oh.
This is a great question. Are we going to count the tanks that we have owned here at BRS that we don't actually own?
Well, let's do 2, because these I consider them my babies, but yeah, I definitely don't own them.
Okay.
I'll start. So this tank's my favorite one I own. I take care of it, so it kind of counts. I certainly didn't pay for any of these guys, so not mine. But this is my favorite. I am a big stick guy, so all the acros are full. And then for tanks I've personally owned, I actually found a used Reef Savvy, like 80 gallon, maybe a decade ago or so. And
That's
that
cool.
was the coolest thing I've ever owned, probably.
Okay. Okay.
But that just went as like I had a bunch of clams and big giant anemones in there. That was it.
Good choice. Good choice. So my favorite tank that I've owned here would be the tank in my old cubicle, just because it had some really good softies in it, which I have not kept for years. So had like a Fiji yellow leather, Kojiwara pink Nephthia.
Yep.
Had a really big green Nephthia. My A-cans were really, really puffy.
Those A-cans were huge.
They were juicy. And then favorite tank that I've actually owned it personally had to be my Innovative Marine 30 all-in-one. I miss those tanks so much.
Yeah.
But like a 3-foot long narrow tank. I had a bunch of SPS from Battle Corals.
Nice.
It was so good.
That's fun.
The favorite coral that like really set it apart was like the Sex Feast Millie.
Nice.
The thing was like pink and had some sick green coral lights.
I know you're a big
like
Millie guy.
It's set.
Yep.
I miss that tank. I wish I never would have sold it or had to move.
I think, as you mentioned, your favorite coral you were on. I had a Balanophilia, which is
okay.
an MPS coral.
Those are not
quite
super
hard to find.
Yeah.
Very hard to find. I found it in like an import bin that I was digging
One of those
through.
like brown coral specials. Probably.
Yeah, yep.
I don't know what
It was.
is.
Yeah, I think I paid $5 for it, and that was the coolest thing. It ended up getting,
That's cool.
about that big. So
That's cool.
It's really cool.
Good question. Andrew Swales, is there a certain way to set up an Inkbird controller? I would follow the instructions. My pro tip would be with the temperature sensor, have the sensor upstream from the heaters. That way it's not catching the temperature directly above the heater or downstream.
Yep.
That way you actually get the temperature you want in the tank, not something colder.
Yeah, and set it up on your phone. I am guilty of not doing that very often, and it's just another sensor to allow you to notify you if something's wrong. If that little temperature sensor, if your tank leaks and it goes out of the water, your Inkbird might notify you before anything else, or other things like that. There is an audible alarm on it too, but definitely set it up on the app. It's also way easier to like pick the temperatures and stuff on the app. Doing it in the buttons, there's only like 2 buttons on it. It's really hard.
Yes. Good question. And if you have any questions about setup, again, support team is here to help.
Yeah, definitely.
Junior Morales, any suggestions on a refugium for an all-in-one 80-gallon tank? So if you're all-in-one, a couple different choices here. My first inclination would be to just convert one of the chambers, take the media out of it, and just get a tube the Eco Chic, put it in there, get your Kato, and just middle section will be your refugium. I don't know how much space you have like front to back, but if you want something a little bit more advanced and want to splurge on some new tech, the Adaptive Reef algae reactor would be a good option.
Yep.
It works fully submerged or out of water, so being an all-in-one, you can just set it on the back chamber, and it'll just dump water back into your chambers for you.
Oh, that's kind of cool. I've never actually thought about that.
So that's what I would do if you wanted to like go all out and have a really fancy refugium.
Okay, I'm gonna mention the like hang on back refugiums. You know, the HOBR from Aquaready is really cool. It comes with a little light, I believe, on top of it, or I think you can add a light to it. Is what it is. That's cool. So you can even pick your own, and then it sucks water out of the tank, will go through basically like another all-in-one chamber, and then comes back in. Yeah. So that's a great way if you want to just try one, you can remove it, or if your back chambers are already full, it can fit in basically everything.
Good question. Good question. Next one, Joe Sneggs, long-time listener, first-time caller. Want to know your opinion, is a protein skimmer needed for a reef tank? Short answer is no. No.
It is not necessary, but
they're great.
They're great. The biggest thing I think they bring isn't even the nutrient export, it's the oxygenation of the tank is really a key factor. There's really nothing else in like you have the surface exchange going on, but there's nothing that's really aerating the tank like a wave does in the ocean.
The surface area in a skimmer is way more than what's in your tank.
Yes.
Surface.
Yeah, and the water in the ocean's always getting aerated, turned around. You need to do it too. Skimmer's just a really, really easy way to do it. The tiny little nano skimmers, they don't take out as much nutrient as I would like them to. Just it doesn't seem like any of them do. But what they really do is aerate the water, especially in a small tank. It's really even more important.
Yeah, good question, and thanks for listening and chatting with us, Joe.
Thanks for calling in. I like that.
I like that. Rudy 007, any opinions on symbiotic sea salt mix?
We were just talking about this, weren't we?
That's from Tropic Marin.
Yep.
I have not personally used it, but it has probiotic bacteria, so it's going to help feed your corals and just help just with general bacterial biome growth in your tank. So think of it as kind of like carbon dosing your tank with your salt mix when you do a water change, as opposed to like having to separately carbon dose.
Right. So that's the biotic part, and then the interesting one, that I like the most, is the sin of the symbiotic is that it's synthetic.
Yeah.
That it's lab grade, lab made salt.
Just
which
like the
means,
Reef.
Yep. Which means it's going to be very consistent across the board. It's not mined and filtered. So I'm more on that end. We keep all of our water in a big, like 200-gallon barrel, and it sits there for quite a while pre-mixed. And anything that's lab-made salts are gonna sit in there cleaner than the other options.
But with any probiotic salt, whether it's symbiotic or any other one out there, you have to use it generally within like 72 hours of mixing because of the probiotics.
I'm only talking about the synthetic aspect.
Just to clarify.
With the prebiotic or probiotic aspects to it, you're going to want to use it right away.
Yes. Yeah. Good question. Samantha Atka, do you recommend cycling a quarantine tank for temporary use? Depends on if you're medicating or not, because if you medicate, you're probably not going to have the bacteria there anyways, or they'll be killed off. So when I quarantine, I always do heavy water changes.
Okay, and like
keep on top.
that kit that we just showed you guys was actually like a really good option. If you want to just observational quarantine, you can set up a tank like that, and then I would cycle it totally. If you're going to put sand and rock, I would cycle it. But if you're just doing bacteria or medications, like you said, I wouldn't. I would put the water in, make sure it's the right temperature and salinity, and then go ahead and add the fish and the medication.
Yeah, good question. Will SO4 or whale sulfate? What's the best cuke for hair algae in a 24-gallon AIO? So first, before you add any more cleanup crew members, manually remove as much of the long stuff as you can.
You are the best.
Because most cleanup crew members will not eat any of the long stuff.
That's right.
And then from there, trocus snails, tuxedo urchin.
Yep.
Up there for hair algae. And scarlet hermit crabs, staring snails, just general varieties going to tackle hair algae for you, but you have to take out all the long stuff first.
Yeah, in a 24-gallon, I wouldn't recommend it, but sea hares are voracious hair algae eaters, but you need a way bigger tank than that, like
or feed them.
Or feed them, but daily, really daily. Yeah.
So
you want to take one more?
Yes, we got time for one more. Cool. Aaron Woods